You don't manage a team of 10 salespeople. You manage 10 individuals who happen to share the same job function. A subtle distinction, but a very important one. The first implies you're going to manage everyone the same and build mini me's and robots. The second implies you're going to take the time to uncover in a one-on-one conversation how people like to be managed, how people like to be motivated, how they like to be held accountable, how they like to be inspired, how they like to be followed up. Because most managers do not know and they bang their head against the wall. How can I get my people motivated? How can I hold them accountable? Managers, you're asking the wrong person. Ask your people. They'll happily tell you. I must bring this up because it's such a global epidemic. And it's, in my humble opinion, probably the single biggest detriment to companies developing a not only a coaching culture, but for managers to really help their people and help themselves evolve into a great coach. And that's being present. And I have a whole module on this when I'm working with leaders, and I'll talk to maybe sales enablement, and we'll review the agenda, and they'll see at the end that Keith's talking about being present. How does that connect to what you're talking about? Meditation? I mean, what actually I am, but
Yep.
what are you talking about? So, well, every organization on this planet, okay, is a victim of their culture. Every organization is result driven. Every organization has targets on their back. Where do the targets live? Where do the goals live? I'm going to get cerebral on everyone here. The future. What are the 3 points in time? Past, present, future. Where do most salespeople and managers focus on? The result. Where does the result reside? In the future. Coaching is the art, habit, language, and mindset of creating new possibilities. Well, let's break this down. Where can you create those possibilities? Not in the future. You do it in the moment. Coaching happens in the present. And most people need to make a fundamental shift from what's next to what's now, because this is not just a lesson in leadership, it's a lesson in life. And unfortunately, because we are victims of this result driven culture, and where coaching happens in the moment and connection happens in the moment, think about what you can't do. You can't actively listen. It happens in the present. You can't create a new possibility. Creation happens in the present. Okay. Possibilities are created in the present. Your goals, your results, your fears, your worries, your stresses, all future based.
Yep.
So, in essence, you can't coach unless you're in the moment. You can't listen unless you're in the moment. And quite frankly, think about the greater cost, your life, because that's the present is where life happens.
I can't stop smiling. You're speaking to all my Brene Brown and Arbiter Institute readings over the years. We focus a lot on coaching. I do want to focus a little bit on the sellers as well. I have a couple questions about that. So, what are some of the like common traits or skills that you see in successful sellers?
It's interesting. When I deliver my sales training program, I don't actually do sales training. Quite frankly, sales, the general model of sales has not changed in 45 years. Okay. Granted, there are still fundamental principles that exist today, but if you're still selling the same way you did pre-pandemic, you're already DOA. Again, another statistic, but I know there are my friends out there that love statistics. 76% of organizations changed the way they buy after the pandemic.
Yep.
Procurement, number of people making decisions, decision makers, influencers, advocates. Uh, 76% of companies changed the way they buy. Only 17% of companies change the way they sell. And then they wonder why they're hitting roadblocks and their people aren't performing because they're not getting coached and they're not evolving their processes.
What are some of those changes in buying? Have you dug into that and
Yeah,
understood
and getting back, I'm sorry, to your question is, I find a lot of the characteristics and competencies apply to leadership as it does to sales. And as I was mentioning before, is if sales hasn't changed so long, but the landscape of our customers and what their needs are and how they make their purchasing decisions have changed, well, then we have to evolve too. And what I do now is I'm not doing the typical sales training and how to close and overcome objections, which to me is sort of ridiculous if you think about it, because how can salespeople overcome objections? Whose objection is it? It's the
Yep.
customers. So who needs to overcome their objection? The customer. Who tries to overcome the objection? The salesperson. And then we wonder why they butt heads.